am. It's very clear. I haven't had anything to eat for days, right? Who knew these were in here? I haven't even seen the picture of what I look like when I turn 50. It's a documentary. I am turned on. I haven't had any phytocannabinoids for, well, when poet Daniel Summerhill was here. It's 2 Saturdays ago, so 13 days. But the conversation, and the sound bath, I understand consciousness, and it's essential for me to demonstrate altered states of consciousness and explain how essential that is. My hypotheses, and I'm only ever saying hypotheses that sometimes I go real speculative, but that's only with people like you. Everything that's on the YouTube channel, I'm as philosophically certain as could be that we need some science, there's experiments, but I've proved it again and again and again. I am pitching you officially to be my producing partner in a documentary about us, each one individually and collectively in collaboration. And we'll get sponsors in the community of like-spirited people, as you suggested, to film a documentary, to share with the world about right livelihood interventions, what it takes for the wise feminine to get paid. It's a crime against humanity that women have struggled to have. And we can go to our Netflix neighbors, get a deal, we can do it. But how we're going to initially fund it is the constitutional felonies I've endured. We'll start with Pacific Grove, and we can also get some money out of Santa Cruz. A little bit more difficult there because it was a commercial organization that violated my civil rights. But in PG, city, wanting restorative justice, I've been sitting on this. And the restorative justice is to finance the documentary for me to explain how very wrong it is to criminalize someone simply because they appear poor. I woke up, it was so traumatic, I'm in this space, I can't move, gas is on empty. In taking the morning walk, not only was I saw this guy, everything, I would go across the street, it's like tobacco. So it was the most nauseous thing, and it was like I couldn't stop smelling it for right back across the street. Just stopped. I'm like 5 blocks behind him. I could still smell it. Gets the smells of these, they lodge in our nasal passages. This is especially true with the new chemicals in the vaping. This is definitely Pretty Woman to Aaron Brockovich. If Lemonada will Richard Gere me again. The whole thing about the podcast, and they want to do reality podcasts. You see, it all fits together, and none of this has to be specifically true, but the brainstorm, I think it really is. Let's do this. Show the world how hard it is, even for extremely competent, intelligent women, to have the slightest access to the capital in this country. Because what we're going to do is pitch a couple billionaires for a new concept that it's so much in my head, but artisanal capital. What's going on, how we stand against this tyranny, is we need to get flexible-brained and open-hearted billionaires to take off. We need 3 to 9% of venture capital. We start with 3, we end up with 9, and once it's at 9, a significant portion of venture capital will become artisanal capital, annual salaries for the world evolvers, creating the future that saves our species from self-extincting in less than 20 years. That's a philosophical argument, and I keep going back and forth because I really don't germ myself with what's going on out there. I'll get a little sun here. I guess I could. The sensory deprivation I need immediately as possible to get to these things, something concrete to pitch, to get this so that somebody will help me get an Airbnb as a sponsorship or whatever. This is I don't know. Now cars coming by, that's why I kept it down. Jane was supposed to be my documentary. Star guest. Having seen me, I arrived at Whidbey Island at 333 pounds with a toxic mold exposure, and I couldn't walk or talk. Western medicine has not been able. They find they find things, but they don't do holistic. And when you're in your 80s, sure, there's plenty of things wrong, but if you go in the wrong order, there just isn't enough. It's just charge the people. It's just, they're using templates for 20-year-old college guys. That doesn't apply to 80-year-old women. We know this. My own mother died at 62 of a fatal heart attack in a hospital. She was a nurse. She went to work on a Monday morning. They said she died before she hit the ground. What happened to her on the drive there is what caused it. The environmental toxicity. So there's this guy, and then it's the street sweeping weapon of mass destruction. What caused me to be autistic? You see how my mind works. Happened on November 1st when I was left in the parking lot by Carnegie Mellon. I was walking through Shady Side, and I saw the thing, and I managed. It's on the other side of the street. But then, just the same here in Pacific Grove. Okay, I ducked in. I was back in an alley. Okay, fine. It goes down the street. It makes a illegal and unimaginable U-turn right behind my shoulder. I'd end up crouching. And yet, with what literally should have caused me 5 days of autistic shutdown because of our conversation in the sound bath. So, the logistics, okay, was slightly difficult. I know your routine, and I know no destabilizing of you needs to occur. We think about all the planning and all the prep and working on it, electronically, and then you come to Pacific Grove 2 or 3 days, and do some shooting. But what we need to do is get the money first. And that requires, again, just a lot. Let me get myself out of this. And then my Carnegie Mellon educated self can demand restorative justice. Because that human sues Pacific Grove for my civil rights. We're in 7 figures. So they can come up with an amount of money to film a documentary that solves all of my immediate needs. gives me the work. Doing the work is how I stay alive. Doing the work is how everyone stays alive. Having right livelihood is what we have to do now that the computers and the robots are taking over. The government's going extinct. Somebody's got to start shouting, "You're hired!" And yet, in real, no uncertain terms, why it's important for me to talk about the torture I'm living through. I am George Floyd's twin. Once you've fallen into homelessness, the whole system of the economy will never let you get up. One word. Forget about the morbid obesity of 50 years. Forget about the lifelong autism. All of the social, one word homelessness guaranteed my death. And I've defied it. But I need a Watson, Plato, the person to help, who sees my brilliance, who really enjoys all of my intensity, and can help me communicate with the people right now here for this very first stage. And there's a lovely deer. So while it's not so great back here, let me give you a production value. Now if you can see, there's a deer standing right there, enjoying the Monterey Bay. There's actually some babies down here. And they're fishing. There's so many boats. I don't know what's going on. All right. Together we'll come up with something that really changes both of our lives and gives us the work and the life fulfillment exactly as we want. Yours in harmony. Zenzile Landalozi, Zulu words that convey. I am responsible for who I've become. Protector of all living beings. I just did some deer whispering and Jane Goodall of deer, and this is it's easier to see. His Holiness and Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Douglas Abrams. That's the ticket. Talk to you soon.